Well, thank you, Andy. I appreciate the opportunity to come on. I love my Panhandle football. Been broadcasting for 15 years now,
Oh,
covering the bar football.
that was just the teaser. So
Okay.
yeah, now I'm gonna do and then you can jump into this video.
Okay.
Here we go. One, two, three. Hi, I'm Andy Villamarzo with SBLive Sports Florida, and I'm joined by a special guest here from the Florida Panhandle. Don't want to forget our people over in the 850, Bill Hammel of Irish Bill Sports. Bill, thank you for joining us. And know you're what is it, hour back or hour ahead? I always forget with Central Time.
We're an hour back. It's just to past 5 o'clock here in Central Time up here in the Panhandle. Navarre, been here for 32 years. I'm not going anywhere else.
And it's a beautiful area. I mean, for people who are kind of in their metro areas of Miami, Jacksonville, Tampa, and if you're in a suburban area, Naples or wherever, I totally recommend a trip over to the Florida Panhandle. I feel like it's a really beautiful area and a great area for high school football as well. Got to check out a few stadiums after the Florida Panhandle Media Day. Beautiful, beautiful venues, and I know they're filled with fans on Friday nights. And the first team that really comes to mind, Bill, because I've ran a poll the last couple of years of just best high school environments, and I know you've been to all the stadiums there in the Florida Panhandle, and Niceville's come out both times as the winners, and I guess for good reason because they got this legendary crowd at their back, and they also have a pretty good football team this year. It only got the one loss. I mean, tell me about the Eagles right now, just how they're playing. Obviously, a team that wasn't. They reached states back in 2020, that COVID-19 season, and I mean, Eagles seem like they're on track to maybe make another run.
Yeah, they lost to Dwyer a couple of times, I believe, back in the 90s, early 2000s. But great program, Grant Thompson. What a job he's done. It kind of reminds me of the Ryan Day of college football. He wins a lot of games. He's been there about 5 or 6 years now. He replaced a legend in John Hicks. Great program there. But what's legendary, you're right, the crowds and the fan base and the student section is one of the best, I believe, in the entire state.
Yeah, I mean that student section is. I just see the videos and I get really jealous of not being able to see that on a Friday. And it has nothing to against all the other student sections around the state. There are some really good ones, but you see these videos on X, formerly Twitter, and you're like, man, these guys they got just they have their chants that are organized. You could tell they've been working on them. The cheerleaders get them fired up, and then the football team does their job for the most part on the football field by winning games, scoring touchdowns. And you got Kane LaFortune at quarterback, Maddox Faryard at wide receiver. They got. Tell me about some of these players they got, and just this team right
now. I got up a chance to watch Fayard a couple of times last year on my nights off. They're running him a lot back out of the backfield and wide receiver, but he is a wide receiver. And he's a guy that if the ball touches his hands, you might as well call it a catch. And he's going to do something afterwards and put on a show. Kane LaFortune, he started the season as a backup. He's taken over the head quarterback position. He's doing a great job, but he's got a lot of talent around him. DJ Robinson had a big game last week, 201 yards in their game against Pine Forest, a battle of speedster there with Mikael Brock Jr. Yeah. Mikael had 295-plus yard kickoff returns for touchdowns last Friday night. It was a great game right down to the wire. But where they have a lot of is on the speed on the defensive in the backfield. They've had some great talents out of there. The Thomas boys, Wanye and Azare's playing at Florida State right now. Wanye's with the Cowboys. They seem to have just a lot of team speed on the defensive backfield.
Yeah, and just defensively, I mean, they've allowed 119 points through the 7 games so far, playing pretty good defense over there. Only loss is to Lincoln, which I don't think that's anything to say. I don't think that's a bad loss. The Trojans have a very good team over there in Tallahassee, and In Class 3S, I have Niceville in the top 10. They seem like they're kind of heating up at the right time. And 3 games to go, planning to see you in that legendary crowd on November 3rd over there at Niceville. And they're going to play a team. I'd be remiss to not really bring them up at the early outset because the team Niceville is going to play that night. You do a radio show with them and their head coach every week, Coach Jay Walls and Navarre Raiders. I mean, they're playing really well right now behind the play of this running back that I'm reminded every week, like he needs to be on this offensive player of the week, Florida Panhandle. And he's always got the stats to put him on the list. That's Connor Matthews. This kid is, it seems like he's churning out 150, 200, 250-yard rushing appearances. You got to tell me you've seen him in person. Talk about Matthews and this Navarre team.
Well, last year as a sophomore, he finished third in his weight class in the state weightlifting championships. He's got legs that remind me of, we go back a little bit of ways, a Dallas Cowboy running back by the name of Robert Newhouse. His legs, in fact, I always tell his dad, I said, don't have him sit next to me because he makes me look bad. But you're not going to take down this young man on first contact. 3 times he very opening play last week's game against Mosley. You figured he went into the pile just across the line of scrimmage. You figured he was going down. He broke about 3 or 4 tackles, got a little nudge from his senior-laden offensive line, and he took the opening play, 51 yards for a score, his 14th touchdown of the season.
Now, tell me a little bit about the quarterback. I believe I got to meet him at the Panhandle Media Day, Hunter Feister. He seems like and the Panhandle's full of good quarterbacks. I feel like I'm looking at the stats every week and I go, there's probably like 8 or 9 quarterbacks I could pluck out of all these games. And Hunter he's kind of under the radar because there's so many quarterbacks and he's a good one. I mean, he can do it with his arm and his legs.
Oh, almost definitely. He's 2 touchdowns away from tying the Navarre career record for passing touchdowns. He's at 32. The record's by 34. He put on some weight in the offseason and got stronger. And if you get a chance to watch him run, he's like one of those big old boys running the ball. And when he gets down and you think you're going to tackle him, he puts out an old stiff arm and basically throws you aside. He has really picked up that side of his game. His option, his RPOs, the decisions that he's making are really strong right now. I had him on my show last week on the Buffalo Wild Wings coaches show. I don't know if I can say that, but we have Coach Walls on there every Wednesday night. Coach Walls looking for his 100th victory at Navarre this Friday night against Milton.
And he got win number 200 not long ago, his career win, because he's also been a head coach. I don't know exactly where he was at previously. Where was he at?
I'll give you a little lesson on Coach Walls. He started assistant coaching at Crestview under former Navarre coach Larry Olson. Then he got his first head coaching job at Sewanee. Then he moved on up into Georgia at Tift County. And then this is his 12th year at Navarre and looking for his 100th win in his 12th year.
Believe it or not, I have been to Brody Field over in Tift County. So I do know Tifton, Georgia a little bit, the Blue Devils. So
Blue Devils, you're right.
Cool to tie him in with Tifton, Georgia, and then he's made his way down to the to Navarre and just the beautiful beaches that are not too far away at all. Next,
he's a Rutherford High School grad. He went and played the defensive line at Valdosta State, became a GA there, and then he threw in his hat and says, I'm going to be a coach.
That's worked out tremendously for him. The saying, I got to see it. I stopped by the stadium. I knew on my way back home I had to stop off at Navarre, and I know you have it in tweets, or I don't know if we still call it tweets, posts, whatever it is on X. And I always see it's greater to be a Raider. Always
that
see
it
that.
is. That it is, and it's the community. They love the Raiders. We started our first full year was in 1999 season. They built the school 1 year at a time, freshman class on up to the senior class. The first graduating class was 2000. We've been through 5 coach. I've been through the days of the metal stands that the fans sat in to what the current stadium is in Bennett C. Russell Stadium.
And nice venue. I wish I was going there this season, but it is Niceville and Navarre. It'll be at Niceville, so maybe next year I'll be able to make a trip over to Navarre and see a game there. Team I'll bring up next, Bill, is a team that actually the assistant from Navarre went over and took over. I think you know where I'm going with this. Tony Carter. He leaves Navarre, gets a shot to be a head coach, and now he's at Pine Forest. And things have been, I think it's been business as usual for the Eagles. They've been winning games. They got a couple losses, and I know they got a tough game against IMG Academy's national team, which anyone would have trouble with them. But I mean, talk about the Eagles to this point through 6 games. They how do you kind of feel about how Coach Carter has kind of built the culture there through what he's done, and what he inherited was a team that they were winning games perennially, and we're in the state championship in 2021. Just narrowly lost to Jesuit. I mean, how do you feel about what he's done this season?
Well, actually, I call Tony. Tony is a very close friend of mine. We've known each other for a long time. We're both retired Air Force, and he's trying to change a culture at Pine Forest. Not in the best part of Pensacola, but what he's going to do is he's going to try to make these men not only great on the football field, but equally off the field. A good Christian man. They lost their main soul last year. Their Tierra Wilson, what an all-state quarterback he was for the Eagles. They've had James Clark, a transfer from Navarre, in there this year. They've struggled a little bit stopping teams, but overall they have the talent. They have 2 D1 solid D1 athletes there. Mikel Brock, running back, getting some looks, but Jonathan Daniel, the offensive tackle, is already committed to Florida State. They got a lot of talent over there. And fortunately, my son is the one of the special teams coaches over there. He works with the punters and kickers, and they'll be down there in your area this coming weekend.
Yes, over in Bradenton there, going against just one of the top teams in the country. And I did get to see Jonathan Daniels over at Media Day, and all 6'5". I think he's about 300 pounds. I'm already short and not really
Me too.
Yeah, I saw him and I just felt like he is a big individual, and definitely Florida State and Coach Norvell are getting a good one in him. But yeah, the Eagles, just a team that every year you're always keeping an eye on them because they got talent. They're able to make a run if things kind of go their way, and they got a Scambia and Booker T. Washington to close out the season after IMG Academy. So and I gotta go to Scambia because I'm gonna jump over and let's talk about them a little bit, because you got Mike Bennett, who obviously he's been there to the state championship. He's won a state championship. He's been there multiple other times. There's a Scambia team, Anthony Hall at quarterback. He's somebody that at Panhandle Media Day, I want to say his teammates were kind of like, it was like the secret that might be like a bad secret that he was going to be pretty good. And they felt really good about their chances. And the Gators have really just played to what they kind of were telling me is we're going to be a good team. Like, I don't know, people are writing us off because we lost our quarterback from last year, but I believe he's a baseball player too. He's fit into the role. Yeah, he fits into the role just fine. And what are your thoughts on the Gators right now and just the way they're playing?
I've always been a Mike Bennett fan. I remember his days when he was at Pensacola High. That's where he was at when he won his state title. Great coach. He knows the area inside and out. Anthony Hall, I want to watch that young man play. He puts up the numbers every single week, no matter who he's playing against. But they got a young man on the defensive side of the ball, Clardy. is the younger brother of Clardy that signed with Kennesaw State a few years ago, and firstly got killed in an accident over here in Pensacola. But this young man, I think, is better than his older brother. But defensively, solid defensive line. They're really big on the defensive line. They think you can pass, they can run on you too.
Yeah, and just seeing some of the guys they had at media day. I mean, good-looking kids. Obviously, skill-wise, they got the guy at quarterback. They got talent at that linebacking core. I know that there were a couple guys that I was talking to that they were just in that front seven, really kind of, I want to say, very confident about how this defense was going to play. And so far, I mean, only 60 points allowed, so they're averaging 10, only allowing 10 a game. And they got a big one coming up here against Choctaw. And if you saw the name of people out there, I mean, don't even try to say it; just say Choctaw, because I feel like anybody can mess it up. And the Indians, I mean, Frank Beasley last year, I don't know what he did to kind of whip these guys and kind of wake them up, but they went on a winning streak and carried them all the way into the region final. I saw him in the game against Columbia, and it was a tough loss in overtime, but Indians are back. I mean, they're going to be a team that can make a similar run and possibly get to states. And I mean, tell me, what have you got to see them this year? And if you have, just what are you seeing out of the Indians, and how are they feeling over there?
Unfortunately, with broadcasting every Friday night, I don't get out to a lot of games other than our bye week. And we went and watched the Gulf Breeze Pace game in our off week. But Jesse Winslet, we evaluated him back his freshman year, and we knew that young man was going to have a lot of talent. All of 6'7". He got a transfer wide receiver in from Crestview, but in need, he goes to Mr. Cole Tab in the backfield. And I know you've had a chance to watch that young man play. He's already committed to Stanford, so that tells you one thing: he's a smart young man.
Yeah, Cole Tab. I mean, I want to say, I was looking at his, and not being weird, just his legs, like his thighs. Like, I'm like, those are like turbines. And once he gets going, he is a tough, back to take down. And Stanford, obviously known for their running backs. They're going to add another good one in Cole Tab, and definitely excited to see what he ends up doing after his high school career over there with the Cardinal. I mean,
the last time Stanford came to this area, Andy, was they pulled a receiver out of Gulf Breeze by the name of Doug Baldwin, and you saw what kind of career he had.
Oh yeah, definitely. And name immediately, moment you said it, it's like, yep. No, definitely know who that is, because some guys you bring up and it's like, if you don't know the area, you may not know him, but that name anyone should know. If you follow the NFL, you're like, Doug Baldwin. Oh wow, he's from the Florida Panhandle. What's a Panhandle? Oh, guys, so it's not a surprise that he's come from there. But yeah, Choctaw on their way. Frank Beasley. I think last year they were being called the Fighting Frank Beasleys, because they just every game they were trying to, kind of fight and claw their way to win. So, and they pulled some upsets along the way, including one of Pine Forest. It was a game-winning field goal there at the very end to edge them out.
Nobody saw that one coming at all last year, because that Pine Forest team last year was stacked.
Yeah, that was a team. I was singing their praises last year, Bill. I was like, they're going to go to the States. They're going to get back the taste of that Jesuit loss, because I know they could smell the state championship. That was how close they were. And to lose
in the fourth quarter, I believe they had a double-digit lead, and they had the ball twice inside Jesuit's 10-yard line and couldn't come away with any points. And you just kind of felt that Jesuit was going to come back and grab that one.
Yeah, and I get to see the quarterback Luke Knight, who's not a Jesuit anymore. Now he's at a school called Wiregrass Ranch out of Pasco County, and you can see why. He's a little field general. So definitely Pine Forest, Choctaw, those teams in Class 3S, Niceville, obviously they're going to have they want to have a shot at getting there to the state championships, which will be over in Tallahassee. Won't be as much of a drive if they get there as it would have been if they would have made it last year. They would have gone down to Fort Lauderdale. A team that I take a look here at the one loss that Escambia has, Pensacola Catholic. Pensacola
Yeah,
Catholic. That's a
I got to
team that,
see them up close and personal in the first game. They have two solid running backs. They have a transfer quarterback in Ryan Huff. He came from out of state. Um, they are big across the offensive line. A lot of team speed in the secondary, and they can run the ball, but he can also throw the ball as well. They got a couple of speedy wide receivers out there. Matt Adams has done one heck of a job when he took over from the previous head coach. And it's Catholic is not an easy out any year.
yeah, they got talent. I know they lost Kobe Howard. He transferred down to South Florida Western, but though he left, doesn't mean the cupboard's bare whatsoever. They have plenty of talent. I know CJ Nettles is one of those backs you're talking about, and I've seen his highlights. He's another tough running back in that Florida Panhandle area, which features a bunch of them. I mean, I got to bring up Fort Walton Beach and Eddie Love Jr. He's another one of the backs that I feel like quarterbacks and running backs are aplenty all across the Panhandle. I feel like every week I could probably have like 10 quarterbacks, 10 running backs on that offensive player of the week list, and going to talk about Fort Walton Beach.
Before you go on with Fort Walton Beach, get this: Eddie Love was in the Raider backfield last year with Connor Matthews.
Wow.
So he transferred to Fort Walton Beach with his half brother, who played at Lighthouse Christian last year. His parents wanted them to be at the same school, so they didn't have to go different directions on Friday night. So he transferred along with a couple of Navars. We wished him well. It hurt the depth of Navarre a little bit, but the players, their team, they play a team game at Navarre, and they got new head coach over there, Bobby Clayton. Used to be the assistant coach under Jerry Pollard on some of those great Pine Forest teams. He actually ended up marrying his daughter, but he moved over there this past year. So he's in a rebuilding mode as they lost 20 straight games coming into this season.
Well, and they've turned things around. The Vikings have won some games this year. Obviously, when you got a back like Eddie Love Jr., I know Harrison Orr, Army kid commitment. He's there at quarterback. He was at Niceville last year. So, I mean, they got some good guys in that backfield, good talent. So you felt like they had to turn it around from last year because they hit rock bottom, and then Clayton comes in. They end up winning some games this year. I mean, got to see that was another game I got to see. Beautiful. I mean, I think I saw a photo from the overhead of the stadium where it shows the beach not far away, and it kind of gives you an idea of how close that to the water these stadiums are. It's like literally you could go to the beach just 5 minutes away from a football field.
Not even that far, but the stadium though, early September when you're in the press box on the home side, you're looking right into that western sky and the sun. So you wait for nightfall because that sun comes blaring right through those windows, and there's no AC in that press box, so you're sweating your tail end off.
I'm like doing the fanning. Yeah,
and the visitors booth is open right next to the visitors coaching staff, so you hear everything, all the yelling going back and forth with the coaches down to the field and everything. So it's a nice place to play to call a game.
I'm gonna say you're calling the game, and you're like, man, field's nice, but not so much up here. Got it. Too hot to call a game. Well, another team, I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up Pace Patriots. These guys, yeah, and I hear about this Nick Simmons kid a lot. I mean, because he's he's not your prototypical just throwing the ball around. I mean, he's your runner. I mean, he's like, I believe he's their leading rusher.
He is.
I mean,
Nick is all about 5'9", 5'9.5". He's got a good back there. Pace, as you know, is a run-oriented team, but don't think you got him stopped. He can throw the ball. They're really strong on the defensive side of the ball. They have two D1 commits, Jackson Ward, middle linebacker, and Tylon Lee as a defensive end. You're going to see this young man. I think he's still growing. He's like 6'5" now. He has not grown into his body, but he is a force on the defensive end for pace. But like I said, Kent Smith doing a great job getting that program back on track. You think you got him in the backfield, he's gone. He's a very speedy quarterback, but they can also throw Ben Tyner, their running back at their second leading rusher on the season.
Yeah, and their team just and they just barely lost Buchholz last year. People don't realize like this team was a point away from beating the Bobcats. That's how, and Buchholz was right there with Venice in the state semifinal. So it kind of gives you an idea. This team, if they score 2 more points, we're talking about a Pace team that potentially, hypothetically, we could say, hey, they could have been in the state final, possibly against Lakeland. You never know, and go back in time and maybe things play out a little differently. So they have a similar team. So I mean, how are people over there kind of feeling about Pace maybe making a run this time around? Because Lakeland obviously not the same from last year. They are still the defending champs. You got Venice that they're doing their thing, but Pace hasn't changed much. I know Buchholz hasn't changed really in their ways either, but do you feel like Pace could be that team to kind of come out and make a run?
Well, I think that will be decided a week Friday night when Navarre heads up to Pace. That could decide the District 1 Class 4S district champion right there. And Navarre then will have Gulf Breeze the following week. But whoever comes out of that game next Friday night. But Pace has got to get by a resurgent Tate Aggie team this Friday night. The Aggies have put up 42 points or more in their last 5 games. And they got a good job out there. Rhett Summerford is doing a great job over there. And I mean, it's the Tate Aggies, they're reemerging as a team that went to, in 2015, went to the Final Four and got knocked out down there in your area by a very tough Seffner team.
Yeah, and I remember that Armwood and they're kind of back too. I mean, they've had a couple years where they've been kind of in a lull, I would say. If 6-4, 7-3 is the lull, but it is for Armwood because they're used to winning titles. So, but yeah, Tate. I mean, last year down year for them. Aggies 4-2 right now, playing really good football. And this summer they won. I know they against Northview. That's where his brother's at, Wesley. They played their third bowl, and well, the brother over at Tate won over his brother over there at Northview. So obviously that kind of adds a little extra kind of good taste when it goes for this season, especially that he's able to win that bowl game. They're on pace to be over 500. So Tate's got a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, their quarterbacks that get this, his name is Tate Davis. Spelled differently, but they got a wide receiver over there that you're going to hear a lot of. Is junior wide receiver Christian Neptune. This very first game against Pine Forest, he went for 200 yards and about 3 or 4 touchdowns. Only a junior, but they can run the ball with Andre Colston, big back, hard running east, north, and south back. They can put points on the board.
And one player I want to bring up before I go into kind of just final thoughts and everything, and I did a story on him, kind of put his name out there because I feel like not a lot of people talk about him, and I don't see any offers coming his way. But he's a senior. Battle Arberson of Gulf Breeze. I mean,
I'm glad you brought up his name. Battle. They're running an air raid offense. New coach, Mr. Greg Gerke, I believe Greg is his first name, came in from Tennessee, but he used to coach down in the Orlando area. In fact, they're playing tonight, and I'm probably going to mess up. Is it Tahopa Kaliga? They're playing.
I'm going to go with that because I think if I say I even butcher it even worse. So we're going to go with that.
Playing down there. They're playing down in Kissimmee tonight. Battle, a 3-year starter. He has run the 7-on-7. Under Dwayne Carter, the son of Tony Carter. the C3 sports program, 7-on-7 national team. Battle, a tough young man. Not much on the offensive line for Gulf Breeze, so he takes a lot of hits. But he's chucking the ball probably 4 to 5 times a game. He had a big game a couple of weeks ago against Milton. He threw for 460 plus yards, 8 touchdowns, and rushed for another one. And he's putting up almost video game type numbers. And but he is a hard-nosed kid. If somebody doesn't give him a chance to play at the next level, I would be surprised.
Yeah, and it's like, ignore the record. They might be 2-4, the Dolphins, but this kid, I mean, you got to look at the tape. You got to look at the statistics he's putting up. I mean, he's trying to carry this Dolphins team on his back with this air raid offense, which is an offense that a lot of college programs run, a lot of high school teams are, catching on to run, and he's mastering it. I mean, the Statistics Weekly proved that. So, going to go into the final part of this, Bill. It's been awesome to talk about Florida Panhandle football. Want to get, and I know I promised no tough questions or no kind of curveball type ones, but I want to hear a bold prediction from you for at the end of the season, or maybe in the playoffs, like something that you feel you can put your stamp on and say, from me, this is going to happen.
Well, a team that's been a surprise to me, we're going to go down into Class 1R. There's a team over in Panama City, the Bozeman Bucks, undefeated on the season. Probably one of the better teams in Panama City right now, right behind Mosley, because a lot of the other programs in Panama City area are kind of down this year. But watch out for the Bozeman Bucks to make a deep run in the playoffs up here from the Panhandle.
All right. Well, you heard Bill there, Irish Bill. Bozeman Bucks, they're gonna make a deep run in Class 1 rule. And to me, I mean, Hawthorne's looking to come back and win another one, but Bozeman, I've been really watching them. Their quarterback Peyton Gay, every week he's putting up, I mean, pretty good numbers, and I know that they're undefeated. They haven't lost a game yet, so they're rolling. And definitely looking forward to seeing if that prediction ends up happening. So, Bill, I thank you so much for coming on the Coastal, talking Florida Panhandle football, representing the 850, and got to have you on again in the playoffs.
I look forward to it, and thank you for the opportunity to come and talk about the thing that I love, the Panhandle and their football.
Oh, thank you so much. And you can catch Irish Bill on his weekly coaches interviews. He over at Buffalo Wild Wings over there. He has them on YouTube, so you can look him up, and definitely give him a follow on X. Does great work putting up the standings, statistics. He's got you covered. I check his stuff out, helps me out. So I know we definitely appreciate everything he does. So that is Bill Hammel of Irish Bill Sports. Going to have him back in the postseason. I'm Andy Villamarzo with SBLive Sports Florida. Thank you for joining us on our latest episode of The Coastal.